Will not pay me for the website I built. Say goodbye to your business, house, and reputation. This happened early 2000s. I used to be a freelance front-end dev and a search engine optimization guru. Back then, getting on the front page of Google was pretty simple. Link exchanging was popular but risky. I never did, but I did have a single website that had serious page rank clout due to it being linked as a trusted source, directly from one of the top and most trusted websites in the world. I would use this website for the best clients to get their page rank, and search engine position leapfrogging other older and more trusted websites. One day I was approached by someone I'll call Bob. Now Bob sold travel packages. He needed to revamp his basic existing website, with a complex website built with pretty tricky back-end coding. I could do the front end, but I had to hire a back-end dev to build the functionality. Bob had a major launch in a month's time and it had to be ready. I usually ask for 25% deposit up front, but Bob said no, he was stunned by the last dev and wasn't going to lose any more money. Now, from the moment I met Bob, my gut was telling me this was going to end badly. The problem was I needed the money, and it was worth quite a lot of money for me and the dev. I skipped the deposit on the promise he paid in full before it went on his server. Bob agreed. For an entire month we worked day, and sometimes all night to get this done in his time frame. With a day to spare, we had done it, and I'd never been so proud of what we had achieved. I was honestly excited to show Bob. The next day I sent the link to my test server, and he phoned me to discuss it. Bob said everything looked good, but he was worried his server's PHP version may be too old to run it. I assured him it would, but he said he was too scared it won't, and we would scrub our hands of it. We went backwards and forwards, but he was insistent the site has to be uploaded and tested on his server before he parts with a penny. I chatted to my dev. He didn't like it either, but agreed we would upload our work onto his server. Bob gave me the FTP details and server login, and I uploaded the site. I told him it was live, and then nothing. I sent several emails and then phone calls. The emails went unanswered and the phone went to voicemail. Sensing a major problem, I rushed to my computer, fired up my FTP program to delete our work on his server, and access denied. He had locked us out, and the following day he went live with our work. For several days I tried phoning until one morning he answered the phone and said, "Listen, I'm not ever going to pay you, and there is nothing you can do about it." Then Bob hung up. Rage was a good word for my feelings. I was shaking while I still held the phone in my hand. For the next hour my range of expletives was growing in complexity. As I sat there figuring out what to do, it hit me. Revenge will be mine. I registered a new domain name, which was Bob's Travel domain name plus sucks at the end. If Bob's website was called bobstravel.com, I had purchased bobstravelsucks.com. I uploaded our work, basically an exact mirror of his live website, onto my new domain. I used my all-powerful mega-page rank domain to link my new sucks domain. Within a month, my website jumped above his website in Google for every conceivable search phrase you would use for the packages he sold. No matter what you typed in, my site was the first result, and his was always below mine. During that month, I created a second website, which was Bob's full name with sucks at the end. On this second website I posted what happened, screenshots of his emails, and warning everyone what a con man he is. Bob had a somewhat unusual first and last time. Again, within a month my website was above his own personal website. I then forgot all about it. About 4 months later I get a cease and desist email from a solicitor's firm. A quick Google showed the solicitor's firm was made up and didn't exist. I reply back with, "I'm not ever going to take them down, and there is nothing you can do about it." Every now and then I'd get emails from people he had conned by taking their money for a travel package, but never booking their package. I'd put those on both of my websites, making sure those juicy important keywords, his full name and company name, were spread across each negative review. A few more months pass, and I get an anonymous email linking to a new domain called My Name Sucks. I'm told to remove my two websites, and he will remove this new one. A quick search, and what do you know, it isn't even on Google. No one could find it. I reply back for a second time with his comment to me. As each month passes, I'm getting more and more people emailing me saying they have been ripped off. I keep adding them to my website. Turns out the travel agency world is well regulated, and they started an investigation into Bob's company using my website as their main tool. I get a call from Bob. Bob is not a happy Bob. In fact, Bob is more of a desperate Bob. Looking at this text now, I know you can almost hear the despair and resentment in Bob's voice. Bob pleads and literally begs me to pull the sites down. Not only is he being investigated by the Travel Agency Association, but he had some very important friends that didn't appreciate the bad press he was causing in their circles. He offers to pay me the money he owed. Nothing more, just what he owed. For the third time, and with a massive smile on my face, I say, "Listen, I'm not ever taking them down, and there is nothing you can do about it." Roll on a few months, and I discover his travel company has been removed from all travel associations. No matter what you typed into Google, my website outranked his, and all the bad reviews on my site were the first thing his potential customers would see. I crippled his business so badly. It went bust. During the collapse, one of his ex-employees contacted me and told me how hard he had worked to get my websites off the first page. He had registered dozens and dozens of other domains in the hope some would jump ahead. Little did he know only the top dozen websites in the world could jump it. Apparently, his property was tied into loans on the failing business, and he lost his house too. It took me just about a year to turn his business from a cash cow to a dead cow. Motto of the story: if you ever think to mess with a dev, don't. Updates: my first ever award, thanks for the silver. Why, thank you for all your awards. Many of you are saying I should have taken the money and not pulled the sites down. At that point, it wasn't about the money. He thought he could simply buy his way out of it after pretending to be a solicitor and then trying the same thing on me. Him knowing I didn't care about the money anymore must have driven him crazy, because money was all he cared about. He then knew he could do nothing to stop his business going down the pan, and all he could do was watch it all fall apart around him.
Client tried to screw me by locking me out of my own system. I did. Since so many people assume this happened in the States, I just wanted to say that I'm from a small country in Europe. The laws and regulations here are different than in the States. We have a government agency here that has everything to do with registering companies, and they do keep track of who's who. If you are a serial startup guy who leaves nothing but burnt ashes behind you, you cannot do it here. You have to register the owner and members of the board of the company if there is one. If you have a prior history of failed companies or you've broken the law in some regard, you are blacklisted at that establishment. First post, so be gentle with me. I've worked as an independent contractor in the IT field for over 20 years. Doing all manner of things, from creating simple HTML sites to managing a big hotel's complete IT infrastructure. One of the many clients I had back in the day I was coding big-ish custom websites was a rental company. Now I had heard a lot of warnings about not working with this guy that owned it. He had a reputation that he was sharp as a tack, backstabbing and conniving. He was a lawyer after all. So I went into the partnership with that in mind. He wanted a new website for his renting gig, where people would list their home for rent. Renters would sign up and pay a subscription to the site, and he would get the whole lot. Nothing out of the ordinary there. So we make a pretty good deal on paper. We sign it, and I get started on the project. Coding everything in PHP goes well, but he demands suddenly that I show him progress only a week into the progress. He wants to see the website front now. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I tried explaining to him that the front-end work isn't scheduled to start until after 6 weeks of back-end programming, and that I only had pure code to show right now. The contract we signed clearly states this. He then gets on his high horse and demands that I put everything on hold to do the front-end first, design and then program. Now, being really young at the time and fairly naive, agreed to this without asking for it to be added to the contract as an addendum and start working on the design now. Now, the contract stated that I was given free rein of the design decisions as long as I maintained the same color scheme and used the same logo on the site. So I make a fast draft in Fireworks. This was back when it was a Macromedia product, before the Adobe acquisition, and within 2 days I show him. He is not impressed and demands a different direction and sets up a list of demands. I, as always, am to please the customer and do just what he wants. I design a new layout with his list of demands, but he doesn't like that either. That's how the next 3 months go. A never-ending circle where he is never happy with anything. Now, close to 4 months into the project, he demands to see a working showcase of the back end. I point out that he himself changed the order in how the project was being done and had demanded that I do the front end design first instead of the back end as stated in the contract, which he now turns on me and says, Yes, the contract we both signed says you will have a working back and to show me at the end of the month. If you don't honor that, I will have to take my business elsewhere and seek compensation for your lack of professionalism. Okay, I now have 12 days to do a back end for the site. So I get a friend to help me and we work tirelessly through a weekend and I have a good base to work from in 9 days. I knew. At this point, he has only paid the security on the contract, about 5% of the total price, and has shielded himself from paying by hiding behind it. Well, if you can't honor the contract, why should I? Finish XX work and then I'll pay as per the contract. Remembering now all the warnings I had heard about this guy, I decided to add a special function to the code just to be safe. More on that later. So now it's the end of the month. We have a front-end design he is okay with. A back end that has been finished to about 85% of what is required according to the contract. And I still have 1 month left to finish everything else. Time for show and tell. Since I was working on this development, I was running it on my own dev server and showed him this in a browser on his computer. I mentioned to him that since I only had 512 kilobit per second upstream from the server, it might lag a little, but it wouldn't when it would be put on the productional server he has his website on at his hosting company. He says that's okay, and the demonstration goes on. As I'm showing him the site, both front end and back end, I can see he's immensely happy with it, although he would never say so out loud. He is trying to hide his smile that pops up regularly, and his eyes gleam with all the added ways he can now start making money from. Anyway, he now says that it's way too slow, this is wrong, that is wrong, blah, blah, blah. Client, I want you to put it up on my prod server and see how the speed is. Be okay, no problem. I can make that happen. Please pay 50% of the contract and I'll get right on it. Okay. I wait a few days and then I get an email from him where he includes a forwarded message from the bank detailing a transaction from him to me to the amount of the 50% I asked for. So I push the system to his prod server so he can take a look at it. Under beta.hisdomain.tld, I then send him an email stating that he can try the system with the supplied credentials. What he doesn't know is that I knew he had been fishing around for another programmer to do this project, to pick up from a lazy deadbeat who couldn't do anything right. So I knew he would most likely try to screw me. What I also suspected was that the email he sent me with the transaction proof was a fake, which it ended up being. ProRevenge one. Remember that small function I mentioned? Well, what it did was if user X, his user, tries to remove user Y, my admin, from the system without one setting being changed in the config first, the system will first delete and purge the database and then remove all the documents in the web root. Well, not 5 minutes after he reads the email from me, he does just that. He tries to delete my admin user from the system to lock me out. Guess who has nothing of the project left? He does ProRevenge too. Since it is considered forgery to spoof an email, especially from a bank, I send the information to the authorities and he goes under investigation by both the police and the bank lawyers. ProRevenge 3. I sold the system to a competitor of his for a better price than originally contracted to him. And last I knew, he was now blacklisted from owning a company as well as he lost his right to work as a lawyer. I only got that 5% he paid at the beginning, and for working for just over 5 months on this project, that is hardly anything. But the knowledge of his demise will keep my heart warm for the rest of my life.
Check out my other incredible videos.